Welcome to Los Angeles Sport Report, the greatest home for sports in the greatest city in the world. I'm joined with Dodgers Nation star Doug McCain, and we have a special guest for you all this evening, a real pillar and legend in the NFL space. We are thrilled to be joined by 2006 Madden cover athlete, three-time Big East Player of the Year, 1998 Heisman finalist, philanthropist, father, husband, the fun uncle, head coach of the Lady Cubs softball program, Syracuse and Eagles legend, six-time Pro Bowler, Donovan McNabb. Did I get all of that right?
You did. You know, I ain't one for accolades, but I'll take it.
You know, we got to make sure they put in that respect on your name, man. But to open up the show, it was trending and reported recently that yourself and other NBA, NFL stars like Tiki Barber, one of your rivals in the NFC East back in the day, are investing in a company called Trendy Social. The application is dedicated to closing the gap between athletes, celebrities, brands, and reshaping endorsements with top-tier talent across sports and entertainment. Can you give us some of the motivation behind being a part of that, and what was the reasoning for wanting to invest in this application?
Well, you know, one thing is for me is all about about making change. And being an athlete, we're able to get on the platform and to reach out to the youth as well as the adults and trying to steer them in the right direction. The thing that I try to, stay motivated and continue to inspire others to do is to continue to give back to the community. You mentioned I'm coach of the Lady Cubs. I also am the owner of the organization, which I have two teams under my umbrella, and just try to develop these young ladies and try to prepare them for what life is expected of them going forward. We have a lot of kids who have dreams and aspirations and just playing sports, but that's an avenue for them to possibly get a free ticket to a university. And, for these girls and for the guys that I work with, because I train quarterbacks as well, is just trying to be able to showcase their talents on the right platform. And when they're able to do that, they're able to be seen. And when they're able to be seen, then that's when the scholarship offers to come. And what other kid in the world wouldn't love to sit in a living room with the head coach that's well-renowned, and that head coach is offering them a scholarship to go to their university so that they can fulfill their education and possibly be whatever it is they choose to be in the future. So when we joined with Trendy, it was more or less of trying to utilize the name and likeness in the right manner, and trying to promote some of these, products that are out there so that everyone can live a healthier life.
So talking about the Lady Cubs in your retirement from the NFL, what is it like adjusting to youth sports? We've seen a big increase in the attention in women's sports. Your daughter, Soraya, is a switch hitter for your team with aspirations to play at the highest level in softball.
Right.
What has it been like being the leader of that team? And is there a bit of a dynamic having to coach one of your kids? And what is that like?
Well, one thing that I try not to display is any daddy ball. I'm not a fan of daddy ball. If my daughter's messing up, she'll be the first one that I have her sit down on the bench, or I'll try to correct her, just like I do the rest of the girls. And preparing those girls at practice and giving them that confidence and that motivation to do work outside of practice so that they can possibly perfect their craft is something that I think a lot of people try to instill into these young ladies. And I try to encourage the parents of motivating their kids to go out and hit off the tee, seeing a pitching coach, being a hitting coach, being a fielding coach, watch games and try to analyze what those college kids are doing at that particular time and how they can enhance their game. And so for me, it's just trying to be somewhat of a key to possibly the success that they're looking for, of just trying to prepare them, understanding what work ethic is, understanding what the determination and passion is, and what that result may look like. Obviously, people know me as a football player and a professional athlete, but that's not what it's about right now. And I've done that, and I've understood what the work ethic and passion is all about, and I'm trying to instill that into these young ladies as well.
It's amazing.
And Donovan, so yeah, speaking of young superstar athletes, Caleb Williams, all the hype surrounding him, the top pick in the draft. You were the number 2 pick in the 1990 draft coming out of Syracuse. A lot of pressure for Williams in year one. What's the biggest key, do you think, for him to have success right out of the gates?
Well, the first thing that he has to do is he has to ingratiate himself into the playbook. And we can talk about the athletic ability, we can talk about the arm strength, we can talk about all the plays that he makes outside of the pocket, but if he doesn't understand what the play call is and reading the defense and understanding his keys, then he's not going to be successful. And I think for all young quarterbacks, they get rushed into the situation too early, I believe. Now, he's in a perfect situation with all the talent around him, but yet still he has to understand what's expected of him in that offense. Now, the thing that I try to explain to a lot of these young kids is being able to read the defense from a pre-snap understanding. And when you're reading a pre-snap read, that means you're understanding coverage, you're understanding fronts. And with those fronts and coverages, you understand what the blitz you may see. And that's the preparation all through the week. And for him, never be afraid to hit the check down. And so this is things that I think these kids need to understand is, yes, it's great to throw touchdowns, but if you're holding the ball for 2.5, 3 seconds, you're going to get hit in the ear hole. And so that you continue to get hit in the ear hole consistently, now you're going to start to get a little stage fright. And so for these young guys, understanding what you're seeing, don't hesitate. Understand you're going to make mistakes. You're a rookie. And so take the shot. If the shot is there and you're reading and that led you to throw it. Don't hesitate. But also understand that, if you're missing that window and you see him open, then the window's going to close. And so hit the check down, being able to move the chains, allowing your guys on the outside as well as, guys on the inside to do their job. And if they do their job, then you're doing yours, and all of a sudden you're moving on one accord.
Yeah, Donovan, when you look at the leap, I mean, you played high-level college football, Caleb coming from USC, but how do you describe just that leap of playing the National Football League to high-level college football and just how quickly that hits you?
Well, I mean, it's just like basically, being in a go-kart race. You're in a go-kart race and, you're riding next to somebody and all of a sudden you riding smooth. You got one hand on the steering wheel. You think you're moving. Then you all of a sudden move to the Indy 500.
Yeah.
And so I think what people need to understand is, they're expecting to see a lot of these kids play the way they played while they were in college. And not to take anything away from the athletes in college, but it's a lot faster when you're playing with grown men. Now, it's not about the speed, but it's also about the knowledge. And so you're playing with guys that may not be as athletic as you are, but they understand how to read keys and know where to get to and how to get there. And if for DB, understanding how to flip your hips and you're sitting on a route maybe at about 8 to 10 yards, because that's kind of the keys that you've read all through film. And so you have to kind of play the game as well. You play the game by understanding the guys that you're playing against. You're reading their keys and their strengths and weaknesses, reading the defense and understand what you need to do with the ball. And the coaches are relying on you to be prepared because they feel like they prepared you enough. But you have to be able to go outside of that and put that extra work in.
Yeah, and as far as Caleb, I mean, there's been some comparisons to Caleb to you. People have used you as a comp for him. What do you like about him as a quarterback as far as his tools? And do you see any of those similarities between you two as far as where he was coming out of college?
The thing that I like about him is his throwing mechanics. And we can talk about his athletic ability, but I'll go beyond that. Playing from the pocket. Now, with time, he looks smooth. He's accurate. He'll put the ball in positions where his receivers can make plays. The bonus is his ability to extend the play and still stay accurate outside the pocket. But I think what you're going to see in the next 3 years from Caleb is exactly kind of what we've seen from C.J. Stroud. C.J. Stroud came out of Ohio State, and to me, he was the number one pocket passer in that draft. I know Bryce Young was the number one player, but he was the number one pocket passer where they questioned his athletic ability of getting outside the pocket, not knowing that he rushed for over 50 yards against Georgia, the number one team in the country. And so that showed his athletic ability, but they still tried to have some type of character flaws on C.J. Stroud, although we haven't heard anything negative about C.J. Stroud. And so the thing goes again now to Caleb Williams, the same thing. With Caleb Williams, it's the same thing. We're trying to find something negative in a lot of these quarterbacks, but we just can't seem to find it. So we harp on situations. Is it his painted nails? Is it his cell phone? Is it a guy that runs to his mom when things go wrong? Things like that don't have any relevancy of him playing the game. But when he's on the field, clearly he's the number one quarterback. And I'm expecting to see him being able to deliver strikes to Keenan Allen, to DJ Moore, to their tight end, their running back situation. Because you can run screens all day with Swift or run jet sweep with guys like that. And so I just think for Chicago, this might be the most weapons that they've had in their organization, in over 25, 30 years. And I'm from Chicago. So I've seen this happen even all the way back to when Walter Payton and Jim McMahon was.
Yeah, and I think one thing that you look at your career, your rookie season, you played in 12 games, you made 6 starts, but one thing that a lot of people said about you is you quickly became one of the leaders of that football team. How do you earn the trust of those veterans and become such a leader early on in your career, like Caleb is going to really be forced to do? You heard about him talking to his teammates about picking up the trash and not keeping the locker room dirty, but you've heard also, hey, he's got the weapons, he's got the offensive line, and everyone respects him. How do you earn that respect so early on?
You earn that respect by your work ethic and your approach. It's easy to come in and demand different things when you haven't shown that you've done this over the last couple of years. But for him, he's ingratiated himself with his team so that they understand they can trust him. They see him working. They see him standing outside extra throwing with the receivers. They see him communicating with his offensive line. They see the calls he's making on the line of scrimmage. The communication between he and coach. I think I seen on a Hard Knocks fight when he was sitting with the PR guy, he was sitting with the coach, and he's talking about, the referee and the experience that referee has. You need to, get to know him a little bit. It's different things like that I don't think people understand, because it's easy from the outside to critique a guy that you don't know much about. And then once you start to see him play, you still in your mind have that negative mentality of trying to find something that's not there. And so for this young man, I'm expecting to see him play like a rookie and at times play like a vet.
Right.
And so now what you're starting to see is the development happen over the season. And by week 12, week 13, all of a sudden we're seeing a whole different type of quarterback.
Yeah, for sure. So you spoke about coaching. The dynamic between a franchise quarterback and the head coach is a lot like a marriage. You and Andy Reid have had a phenomenal relationship. Can you tell us a bit about the importance of that relationship between franchise quarterback and head coach? And can you give us a bit about your experiences working with a guy like Andy Reid?
It's a bond, a chemistry, and it's also longevity. Something that I think a lot of people don't understand. I mean, we were compared to the Jim Kellys and the Marv Levy's. We were compared to, to the Dallas Cowboys when they had obviously Jimmy Johnson and Troy Aikman. We were compared to the Tony Dungy's and the Peyton Mannings, the Bill Belichick's and the Tom Brady's, because it's all about that longevity. Because now you go through a year of ups and downs, and then that next year, that off season, you're sitting down talking about things you can get corrected. His ideas going into the draft and free agency, what I think that I need on our offense, and how we can get more guys involved. And going into that next year, all of a sudden we have one of those breakout years. And that following years, what can we do to get better? And now all of a sudden you add 1 or 2 more pieces on both sides of the ball or special teams. And that now we start to take that extra step. And that chemistry continues to grow between head coach and quarterback. And that's what a franchise quarterback is, because now that trust is built from people in the higher parts of the organization, including the head coach. The GM is involved. Head of scouting is involved. Now we're sitting down talking about what we can do to add to what we're doing. And from an offensive standpoint, what can we add? And now he's looking at other players and across the league and the plays that they're running. And, you know what, I'll put you in that same situation. And so now we're talking 6, 7, 8 years together of having success. And so that now all of a sudden becomes, he calls a play, I cut him off, I know what you're thinking. Or I see something out there, he may call a play and I wave him off, and he calls, well, just call what you want. And that's the trust that you build. And so, I look back on the career, and it was exciting to see. And now the relationship that we have no longer that I'm playing, and that he's built now with Patrick. And so it's that same combination and communication that he has with this quarterback, where the trust is definitely there, and so is the production.
So there's been some news circling Philadelphia media regarding Jalen Hurts' relationship with Coach Nick Sirianni. It's been talked about in words used like tumultuous. There's been people thinking that the two of them don't get along. Hurts did come out and say that they are getting on the same page this season, really diminished a lot of the rumors surrounding their relationship. What do you expect from their dynamic this season, and how do they kill some of the noise that has been circling Philadelphia between the two of them?
winning cures everything. But let me dive back into that whole conversation that started. I want to say once they went on that losing streak. Remember, he had the relationship with Charles Johnson, the offensive coordinator.
Right.
With Coach Johnson, I mean, I think his dad coached Coach Johnson, and so he understood kind of how to put Jaylen in situations. Now, it's sad because the two coordinators took the blame for the turmoil and just the losses. And so once you make that decision, now all the weight goes back on the head coach. Nick Sirianni's the guy I've talked to, and he's a great guy. I've never played for him, so I don't know exactly kind of the ups and downs of what was said and what was going on in the locker room. But I've talked to just different guys and giving me an understanding of what it is. And so for me, I look at it in a sense of for everything that was going on, I think it changes, and I think for the better, it will be better this season.
So Jalen Hurts has come out and he's giving you and Michael Vick a lot of praise for their influence as you guys being really the biggest African-American quarterbacks of the early 2000s. You have both inspired the next wave of black quarterbacks. And we've seen a boom of black quarterbacks being in positions to be franchise leaders in the NFL currently. What is it like having that type of praise from really the best Eagles quarterback since you were under center? And what is your relationship like with Jalen Hurts?
A great relationship. I've been mentoring him since he was drafted. And for a guy that I tried to explain to everyone that he was a grown man in the room, going through so many coordinators in college and then obviously making the moves from Alabama to Oklahoma and still having success and being able to learn how to play from the pocket has put him in a position of being second-round pick. And I think what he did was going into his rookie year was just ingratiating himself in the offense and getting comfortable. And Carson Wentz, who battled injury, was a shoe-in for him to slide right in because he was prepared.
Right.
And so he's continued to develop and get better each year. And I'm excited to see what he's going to do this season because I think it's more of a bounce-back year for him. And we got to remember, they were 10-1 last year.
Yes.
Coming off of a Super Bowl and going 10-1, they kind of faltered a little bit. And, there was a lot of mistakes and a lot of things happening. But I think for the Philadelphia Eagles, I'm expecting great things from them.
Yeah, you talk about that bounce back here. I mean, last season, a career-high 3,858 yards, but he had as many interceptions, 15, as he did the last two seasons combined. What do you think is the biggest key for him to kind of limiting those turnovers this season, just being more consistent?
I think the thing for him is just continue to get back to the basics. Get back to the basics, clean up his footwork in the pocket. I see him floating a little bit last season. With this RPO game, I'm looking more when you got Saquon Barkley. Just hand the ball to him.
Yeah.
Just hand the ball to him or run the screen. Let him check down. Now he can sit back, drop back, and read his keys. Get the ball to Devontae. Get the ball to AJ. Nothing's there. You still have Dallas Goedert. I thought that offense last season got a little stagnant because we were trying to force the ball too much to AJ.
Right.
I thought this was an offense that you could spread the ball around because you got one of the best tight ends in the game. Swift was one of the best running backs in the game, and we kind of fell away from running the ball consistently. And I think if they get back to the balanced offense, things will happen.
And how much do you think he's going to benefit from playing in Kellen Moore's system?
I think passing-wise, he's going to benefit big time. The thing with Kellen that I kind of worry about is he's not known for running the football. And you got one of the best running backs in the game. So, at least he's got to get 19 carries, 18 to 20 carries in the game, which will lead to about five, possibly 4 to 6 catches in the game. He's got to be a guy that you got to somehow get at least 25 to 30 touches with Saquon Barkley. And then Gainwell will come in and at least get about 6 to 8 touches. And then you can spread the ball around. And so we have to utilize the interior part of the football field with our tight ends and running backs. And that opens up a lot more outside.
Yeah, the one thing I would ask you too, Donovan, was playing in Philly compared to other markets. You played at Washington, you played at Minnesota. Feels like Philly is just different. The fan base is so locked in, the media is so locked in. How were you able to handle that? And was that a big adjustment for you throughout your career? Because really, you start off the gates, and right away, you're one of the best quarterbacks in the league. And what special adjustment does it take for a quarterback like Jalen Hurts to be able to perform in Philly?
Well, he's got to have short-term memory.
Yeah.
He's got to have short-term memory, and he's got to have blinders on. Because you can't focus on what they're saying on the outside. because, there are radio shows, there's TV shows that talk negative about the football team, and you're the first one that they'll go after. So he has to focus in on what he's doing in his job, and that's asked by his teammates as well as by his coaches. Be prepared, get out there, and know what he's seeing, and be able to react. Hey, everybody turns the ball over, but it's what do you do after you make the mistake? It's about being able to overcome adversity and be able to put it in a positive situation.
So the Eagles this season have a stack load of weapons, from AJ to Saquon to Goddard. You got to add Devontae Smith to that mix. They just acquired Jahan Dotson from the Washington Commanders. Having that many people who are going to be looking to get the ball, how, as a franchise quarterback, is it managing all the egos, making sure everybody feels like they're participating in the offense? Because there is only one football, and this team can have potentially 3,000-yard receivers, 1,000-yard running back. So there's a lot of spreading the wealth that has to go in this Eagles offense. How would you handle that situation, and how do you think Jalen's going to handle that situation?
Not everybody's going to get what they want. And, a lot of times when you have so many weapons, there's going to be one or two of them that's not going to be happy. Now, you got to remember, Dotson's coming over from Washington, who McLaurin was the number one guy. Mm-hmm. So he should be used to playing the second or third fiddle.
Right.
Now, Devontae Smith has been a guy that has splash plays and has splash games. And A.J. Brown has been a guy that's had splash games, and he's a true number one receiver. But in the offense, you got to read what your defense is giving you, and you have to take advantage of it. Sometimes it may not be A.J. Brown with 9, 10 catches. It may be A.J. Brown with 5 or 6 catches. It may be Devontae with 7 to 8 catches. Right. It may be Dallas Goedert with 4 to 6 catches. It may be, Saquon Barkley's day with 6 catches and 17, 18 rushes for about 250 total yards. It may be, Dotson's day to get 4 catches for 4 first down. Right. These are the things that you got to focus in on as a quarterback, because you're not trying to please everybody. Yeah. You're just trying to win football games. And so, if I'm reading the defense and they're giving me just cover 3 and we got hitches on the outside, right, I'm taking best leverage and best opportunity. Right. It may be AJ, it may be Devontae. You got to throw it to whoever's going to be open. Allow them to make plays for you.
Right. I love that. So switching gears, we want to talk a bit about your philanthropy charity. The McNabb Foundation has raised hundreds of thousands of dollars for the American Diabetes Association, and you've helped award a bunch of scholarships for students. Not only that, you and your beautiful wife, Raquel McNabb, who you also met at the University of Syracuse, you helped fund the construction of the NICU at the Virtual Voorhees Replacement Hospital, along with establishing the Carrot Sports Foundation to really get rid of that paywall for youth sports. Tell us about the motivation behind wanting to be a part of charity and donations and really helping the next wave of the youth having the ability to participate in sports that they wouldn't due to maybe financial instability.
Not everybody's blessed to have the opportunity to play club sports, be on the same platforms as some of these top-rated players, have been key players at their high schools and now have an opportunity to play club sports because they come from single-parent homes, moms making $30,000 a year. Club dues are about $10,000 to $15,000 for about 6 months. And you know how much that takes away from a lot of these parents who are working 2 jobs, with 3 kids, and their kid has dreams of playing Division I basketball and just want to be seen on those platforms. Where with Carrot Sports, where we just started, we're allowing that opportunity for them to submit their emails in, telling us about their story, things that they want to get accomplished, and seeing what we can do to help raise money to help them have that opportunity. And that's something that Carrot Sports, myself, my wife, and a great group of ladies have come together and continue to grow over the last couple of years. And we've had some great sponsors and backing to help us with that. And it's not just in basketball or softball, it's in volleyball, it's in soccer, it's in multiple sports. And that's not just club, but it's also for rec as well, to try to help these kids and families have that opportunity as well. And with diabetes, it was something that was near and dear to my heart because my grandmother or grandfather had diabetes, my dad, my brother have diabetes, and something that I just want to continue to spread the awareness for a lot of individuals in the world of just going to get tested, learning more about yourself, being able to take care of yourselves, because it's running rapid in the African American community. Right. And it's something that we really have to focus in on, eating healthy and also working out.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome.
And Donovan, just some big picture stuff, looking back at your career, I just want to know, what are you most proud of when you look back at your career? 6-time Pro Bowler, appeared in 5 NFC Championship games, Super Bowl 39. But just when you look back at your entire career, what are you most proud of?
Just fulfilling the dream of playing in the professional ranks on the NFL level, doing it for a period of time and having some success. But the most important thing for me is just kind of utilizing that platform for something great.
Yeah.
And it's not just all about throwing touchdowns and going out and playing football or any professional sports. It's being able to use that platform to help the youth. And
That's
something that I take pride in is just giving that opportunity. If it's a 5 or 10 minute conversation with a young man or a young woman, of finding out what it is that they want to get accomplished and helping them in any way, and they walk away from that conversation feeling like they're ready to go run through a wall, I've done my job. Right. And I have 4 kids of my own, and, having conversations with them of what they want to get accomplished and their goals. Not that they always listen to dad, but, they at least hear it, and something that I think when they hear from somebody else, then it reiterates the message that I'm trying to send to them.
Right. Inspiring stuff. And you talked about the Hall of Fame, getting a gold jacket. I'm going to make the case for you. I think you should be in the Hall of Fame. 37,276 passing yards, 19th all time, 234 passing TDs, 29 rushing TDs, 3,459 rushing yards, 5.6 yards per carry, Super Bowl 39, run into some tough opponents there, but the greatest show on turf in the Panthers a couple years in the NFC Championship game. But just, you look at your career, I think you should be in the Hall of Fame, but just kind of what are your thoughts on that at this point?
Hey, if it happens, it happens. I play the game to make the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
And again, if it's Hall of Fame is something that I think is a reward for the accomplishments and the things that we've been able to achieve as a professional athlete. I look at it in a sense that it's an opportunity for my kids to kind of close that door and understand that dad did something that was great and it's my turn. Because, for me, it's an opportunity to kind of step out of their way and watch the path of my young kids continue to grow. And hopefully I'll be live for a long period of time to watch them grow and have their own kids and hopefully accomplish something greater than I did.
And you won 65% of your games with Philly, a winner, a leader, played through injuries. So, I see you in Canton one day. That's just me. If you get my vote, Mr. Donovan McNabb. Also, one thing I really want to ask you, last question for me, is can I have your Mount Rushmore of NFL quarterbacks?
Not in any order. Joe Montana, and I'm a little biased, Tom Brady. I would put probably John Elway and Warren Moon.
Incredible list.
So there are going to be some people who are going to ask you when they see this about Patrick Mahomes. I'm assuming one of the reasons why he's not up there is because he still has a lot left to go in his career. What do you think it's going to take for him to maybe find himself on that Mount Rushmore?
I would say another 4 to 5 years of success. And the thing about it is he's accomplished so much so early.
Yeah.
That I don't want people to get so comfortable with thinking that this is going to happen every year.
Right.
And you think about guys that have played for a long period of time, the Drew Breeses, the Peyton Mannings played for 15, I think he played about 15, 17 years. Mm-hmm. Tom Brady playing for 20 plus years. Dan Marino and Warren Moon put up ridiculous numbers and accomplished so much. But I just think for a guy like Patrick Mahomes, he shouldn't focus on the years that he's playing and just continue to have fun. And when it's time to unlace the shoes and throw them over the wire, then you got to let it go because he's accomplished so much so far. I think for 5 to 8 more years of him playing at above average level will solidify that for him on the Mount Rushmore.
So for our LA audience, there's a few questions I do want to ask you about the things that are going on for the NFL teams around here. Jim Harbaugh was recently added as the head coach for the Chargers. How do you think he'll maximize Justin Herbert this season, who's dealt with injuries and the Chargers having a few lackluster finishes to their season. With a lot of expectations on him and his ability to get the most out of his franchise quarterback, what do you see, what improvements are you expecting to see from Justin Herbert and really where this Chargers team can end up at the end of the season?
Well, offensively, let me start offensively. I think he runs the football a lot more this season. They didn't utilize Eckler in between the tackles. He was more of a guy that got outside. He ran some on draws, but I think with Corum and their running game, I think they'll run the ball a lot more, take pressure off of Justin Herbert. Yep. They'll utilize their tight ends a little bit more in the interior part of the football field because Mike Williams and Keenan Allen are gone. They have some young talent on the outside with Palmer to be able to stretch the field. Mm-hmm. But I just think it'll be more of an efficient offense. A little bit of intermediate throws, taking some shots downfield, but also you'll see them getting outside of the pocket a little bit. Right. Something that we've seen them use J.J. McCarthy in those situations in Michigan. And so my thing with this football team, really, to be honest with you, is can they get off on third down? Mm-hmm. Can Darwin James and Bosa and Khalil Mack and those guys stay healthy? Right. All throughout the year? And really, can they play efficient football on both sides of the ball?
Yeah. The Los Angeles Rams are another team who are looking to reload this season after overachieving a bit. I think most fans didn't even have them going to the playoffs, let alone getting there. So with that being said, what do you think is key for the Rams this season to get back to that NFC Championship Super Bowl window that they were a few years back?
Well, fortunately for them, they're somewhat in a kind of somewhat balanced kind of conference, a division. But San Francisco's still going to be San Francisco. Right. I think Seattle will still be one of those teams that you got to keep an eye on. I don't know if Arizona will be barking too much up the tree. But I think for the Rams, I think, Matthew Stafford's got to stay healthy. Right. He's getting up in age, not really that old, but he's getting up there at football age. And then can they run the football? Can they play kind of a dink and dunk type of offense when we all know McVay is kind of one of those guys that's just like Kyle Shanahan. He's going to take some shots and get creative. Cooper Kupp, can he stay healthy? And can the young talent that they drafted and picked up throughout free agency, can they provide that spark that they need? Losing Aaron Donald on defense will be able to hurt them, I think, unless they fill the void with about two guys. Because one person's not going to fill that void for Aaron Donald. Yeah. Aaron Donald, is bona fide Hall of Famer, probably top 3 defensive tackles to ever play the game. And he'll go down as one of the best, and that's definitely in this era. So I just think for the Rams, they got to play sound football, something that we haven't seen with them consistently because they're more of a shot taker. And I was impressed by what I seen when they played against Detroit, but it just wasn't good enough.
Yeah, for sure. Donovan, we really appreciate your time. Before we let you go, we got 2 questions for fan engagement. Who are your top 5 quarterbacks heading into the NFL this season?
Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Dak Prescott, Joe Burrow, but they got to get their wide receiver situation cleaned up. Got to pay him. And then I would probably say Jared Goff. I say Jared Goff because I think Detroit is kind of on the verge of really exploding. And so I look at Jared Goff and really Jordan Love in the NFC in that North, and they're going to battle back and forth. Yeah. And so I just think for those are the quarterbacks that I will be watching this season, that I think those will be the ones we'll be talking about later on in the year.
I love it. I'd love to see Jared Goff's resurgence to the limelight in the NFL. Right. They sent him to Detroit to die, and, like the flower rising from the concrete, he did what he was supposed to do. So my last question for you. Who do you have representing the AFC and the NFC in this year's Super Bowl? And if you can pick your winner, who's winning it all this season?
It's hard to turn down Kansas City and Patrick Mahomes, but I'm going to because a three-peat is hard. Yeah. And I'm going to say Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens will represent the AFC. In the NFC, I kind of go on the limb a little bit. And I'll pick the Philadelphia Eagles only because of what I see in the offense. I need to see what defense, if Jalen Carter and the Georgia boys will elevate their game. Yeah. But I'm going to pick the Philadelphia Eagles on this. I know a lot of people probably will pick San Francisco again,
Right.
but I think this is the year that Philadelphia gets back.
So your winner.
I want to see Lamar win, but
Yeah.
I also want to see Jaylen win.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna keep it peaceful at this point.
Yeah,
Win-win.
for sure. Donovan, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. We hope to get you back on here later on in this season so we can kind of recap and update some of these conversations. It's been a privilege. Thank you so much.
Oh, great job, John. You're doing an excellent job. Excellent. Thanks for having me, Doug.
Thanks, Dave. Pleasure to meet you, man. Big fan.
Thanks, Dave.
Appreciate it, boss. Have a good rest of the day.